Sabrina, we have a new commissioner, Mr. Andrew Morgan, Sebrina Slack.
Hello, Mr. Morgan.
So how did the governor's office go?
The governor's office went quite well. I appreciate the opportunity to go up there. I spent quite a bit of time studying for my interview, which actually, I hate to say it, was fun. You know, it's embarrassing to say how much fun you have reading legislation and Supreme Court cases and things that probably when you're practicing you don't do as much as you used to. Preparing, talking to people about going up there, all those sorts of things. I really do appreciate the opportunity to have gone. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
What did you learn about the process that, you know, for example, were we to send you up again, you would do more or different?
What I would do more or different would be, I would probably contact more people to support my application. I spent some time doing that, but because it was my first time, I spent a lot of time talking to people about what types of questions I should expect, what types of preparation I should do, and unfortunately returned to probably one of my bad habits of preparing too much and not campaigning enough, which, you know, I'm learning campaigning is a very important thing, and I'm actually hopefully getting pretty good at it. I'm doing it enough.
That was going to be my question. What did you learn on the campaign trail?
Oh, on the campaign trail. You know, interestingly, what I learned on the campaign trail is that people that are interested in the process are very interested in the process, and people that are not interested in the process take more work. So on the campaign trail, I've learned how to express what judges do, express to people why they should be interested in electing judges, and all those other sorts of things. And I've also learned how to reach out to people for their support and for their help, and to accept that support and help graciously, because sometimes it comes from places you never thought it would have come from. And to move forward, always trying to reach to someone, make sure they understand it sort of gets inside of you, and it's a momentum you can't stop. Because if you go home and you're like, okay, I'm going to take off Saturday afternoon, you're sitting there, you see something on your email or your Facebook, you're like, oh, there's an event, I'm going to go. And you pack up it, and you just can't stop yourself. You have to go out there and keep talking to people.
You find that it's natural for you being on the campaign trail, or do you feel like you're working outside your comfort zone a little bit?
Absolutely not. It is outside of my comfort zone. And it's a funny thing, it really shouldn't be, because you know, you go to law school to advocate for people and be with people and meet people and talk to people, but a lot of times you also go to law school for the intellectual aspects of it. I tend to be more of an introvert and a preparer, and when I'm going to speak, I like to be very prepared and ready to speak, and don't like to fly off the cuff or the seat of my pants when I go forward and speak with people. But you don't have that luxury when you're campaigning. So like I said, if you see something, an opportunity to speak to someone, you need to speak to them immediately, not prepare, not to do anything. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's helped me expand my horizons. It's helped me sort of to move forward and develop, you know, as an attorney and as a person.
So I guess there was a judicial candidate forum last night I've heard about.
Yes.
How did that go?
It went well, except, you know, you always think of the question that you would have answered differently. They asked me how I would manage a felony docket, and I remember being in felony. The most important thing is that things move along, you know, very, very uniformly, efficiently, and succinctly. But then I started, after I finished the question, I'm looking at the audience, and they're like, oh yeah, that was like your typical answer. And I remembered one of the things that was most frustrating when I was in felony is the jurors. You have got to, as a judge, be able to be personable, to be able to help those jurors understand why they're there, how important it is that they're there, and to actually explain to them the process, keep them in the process, make sure they don't feel alienated when the attorneys start talking over their heads or they get sent out of the room. Make sure that they don't have that disconnect, because one of the worst trials I ever had in felony was one where we had an issue with, it was a DNA and FDLE. The paper had published a month before a report that a few of the FDLE agents had faked their test results because they didn't want to take the time to do them. So we had spent a lot of time prepping that juror to make sure there was no bias, that people didn't know about that and all those sorts of things. But because there was a lot of going in and out of the room and a lot of motions in limine and objections to what we were going and what we were doing, the jurors got sent out of the room a lot. And we lost them along the way. You know, it's hard enough with genetic evidence, because it's not as exciting as on TV. You know, you're trying to do the predicate and all of that. So we lost them along the way. We still got a conviction, but we didn't get the conviction we wanted. But that's one of the things that, you know, at that forum, I wish I had thought of at the time, the importance of being able to manage jurors and make sure that that process is there for the defendants, the state, everyone. That's the important component.
Who have you received endorsements from in your election?
You know, it's funny. Actually, I don't have any public endorsements right now. I came into the election very late. The two people who were actually already in the campaign, they started in August. They gathered up a lot of endorsements ahead of time, all of the same people that I would have gotten endorsements from. I don't have a campaign manager. I can't personally seek endorsements myself, so it's been very difficult for people to volunteer endorsements back towards me. One of the things that going forward is it's something I need to do is find a campaign manager so that I can have that third party seek endorsements for me. It's not, you know, it's a violation of the rules to go out and ask someone to endorse me directly.
Why did you get in the race so late?
You know, I didn't think I was getting in late. It's the first time I've ever been in politics. I joined the race in late February, which, you know, for me, I thought, you know, that's a good time to get in. Late February, it was myself and Stacia Warren at the time. It was just a race of two individuals. So I thought February was plenty of time to get geared up and going. When Judge Will retired, it pushed Chris France over into my race. Chris France had been politicking much harder, much longer. So it made that decision to come in February against one opponent, that second or third opponent now, made it more difficult because we have a lot of the same base, a lot of background with the same individuals. And when he came into the race, it was just an entirely different dynamic. That it's one thing you learn with politics, you think you're making the right decision in February, when it turns out, no, you should have made this decision way back in August. I was actually considering running way back then, but had planned on not announcing until after the first of the year.
What kind of, do you have contacts or relationships in the other three counties besides Volusia? How do you work that?
You know, the contacts and relationships I have outside in other counties are all attorney-based. I have relationships with some attorneys in Flagler, a few in St. John's, but none in Putnam. So, you know, Putnam is the outside area for me. I've been trying to go over and make some inroads over there with just different persons, but yeah, it's mostly you have to work through what you know, and I mostly know attorneys.
I have some confidence at some point that you will become a judge. I don't know if it's what seat it is or when it is. When you ultimately get there, are there judges that you would model yourself after, seek out as mentors, or retired judges that you particularly enjoy the period in front of?
You know, I think the judges that I would probably model myself after are the ones who are the most prepared and the ones that come to the bench with a knowledge of where they're going, what they're doing. Dawn Nichols comes to mind, a very big fan of how she came in and started running the courtroom. I've done mostly family law trials lately, so Liz Blackburn's another one. I had a trial. She came right on the bench and started. We were everyone who had things on her docket that were said. We were like, oh my gosh, we're going to be rolled for another 6 months. She came right on the bench, started trying cases. Excellent job running the courtroom, knowing what's going on. As far as other attorneys that have become judges, you know, Kathy Weston, who was elected, went into an area of law that she had very little background in, dedicated herself to learning it, moving through it, talking to other judges, those sorts of things. I think that's who I would model myself after, or judges who have recently come to the bench and to see how they've done it and how they have come out successfully with very little time for them to get up to speed.
Well, Sebrina, thank you.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
be back with you this afternoon.
All right, I appreciate it.